Tyler Cameron says Matt James' season of The Bachelor has a happy ending, and we're breaking down everything he had to say. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We're talking about all of our theories for how Matt James' season ends. But before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Gabby Gonta, and I'm joined by the lovely Hiba Berry today. All right, we were all so excited for Tyler Cameron's return to the Bachelor screen this week. And after his appearance on his best friend Matt James's season of the show, Tyler sat down with Entertainment Tonight to talk all about it. Before we get into all the details about what Tyler has to say, Hiba, I want to know what you think. How excited were you for Tyler to be on this week's episode and just that he was able to make an appearance on this season?
Oh, it was a familiar face, and of course, a familiar face that we've been seeing on social media as well, hanging out with Matt and Hannah Brown, of course, that we saw. But yeah, I mean, it's always great to just have your buddy, just stop by and just kind of be like the mediator, someone that you just kind of confide in and just kind of, take a break from all these relationships with these contestants and just like get to, just hang out for a bit because, of course, they're roommates and they haven't seen each other since Matt started filming, of course, with all the quarantine restrictions and everything like that. So it's not something easy that can happen. They can't just always, meet up and hang out. There has to be, a quarantine period. So I think, again, it was nice to see Tyler, stop by, kind of give his advice on his experience being a part of the Bachelorette season, of course, with Hannah Brown. So yeah, it was great just to kind of see the advice that was exchanged and to see the headspace that Matt is in going into this, season, exactly where we are. I think it's 10 girls that are left, I believe, kind of like middle of the season now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of it unfolds and if he's going to follow Tyler's advice that he gave or maybe even relate to Tyler's advice that he gave. But again, it was great just to see, those two together. They're always hanging out and posting on social media all the time, doing their crazy little antics and TikTok videos and stuff like that. But yeah, it was definitely great to see Tyler, and it was a really interesting side to see of him as well. We didn't really get to see how he reflected post Bachelorette, and kind of now, there it's months after the season had ended. So it's kind of interesting to see what he took away from the experience, how long it takes for a relationship to kind of flourish. And I think that's maybe kind of what Matt is struggling with a little bit, especially with all those contestants that, he has feelings for and now has developed relationships with. So again, it was interesting to see Tyler, kind of, to make an appearance again. So it was a great moment in the show.
Agreed. I think Matt has been right in the middle of some crazy girl drama this season that I'm sure to see a male face at all, especially his best friend who he could vent to, was just such a breath of fresh air. They had a great time on the show together. And that's a good point, though, what you were saying. It's been months since they've seen each other while Matt was filming. So it must be tough to be a member of Bachelor Nation because your friends every now and then are just going to be MIA for a couple of months and you have to deal with it. So that must definitely be tough for close friends like that. But great to see Tyler on the screen again. In the interview, when Tyler was asked how Matt is doing right now, he said, quote, I was just with him this weekend and we talked about stuff. He seems like he's in a great place and that's all that matters. As long as he's happy, I'm happy. Along those lines, regarding how Matt's season ends, Tyler said, Matt is very happy. Matt's extremely happy. So Tyler's using the word happy a lot, which could mean a lot of different things. We would think that if his true intentions to come on the show were to get engaged, that if he was happy now, it would be the fact that that is what came to be, and now he's engaged and with his future wife. So it could be the other side of the spectrum, though. He could still be happy with the outcome, even though it didn't necessarily end in an engagement. This reminds me of Hannah Brown's season, where it was certainly not a happy ending. She ended up getting engaged to Jed, but found out, a few weeks later that he was a bit of a fraud. So, although the ending wasn't necessarily happy there, she was, happy with the fact that she ended the engagement, was able to move on, and overall just thankful for her experience as the Bachelor and everything she learned. So which direction do you think Matt's season is going to take? Is he going to end happily engaged, or is he going to end up happy but not with the classic happy ending fairy tale story? What do you think?
Oh, this is a tricky question, and I actually didn't even think of that or conceptualize that him being happy could be him either engaged or single. I've been just so focused on him getting engaged. I didn't even realize, oh wait, he can still be single and happy, like even if this, process didn't work out. But I think, you know what? The competition with the contestants of the girls that we have this season, again, we have the mean girls that we kind of got rid of now. So now we're really again focusing on the love portion of this season where it should have began from the beginning. But I think again, the lineup of these girls is pretty solid. I know, of course, we have Bria as a front runner, Michelle, we have Abigail, here and there a little bit, and of course, Rachel. So I think he's definitely has a good lineup, and, Serena P, I think, as well. I always get the Serenas confused, but one of the Serenas,
Mhm.
is also a front runner. So I think, again, he has a good lineup to choose from. Again, will it work? We don't know. Will it work out? Especially, after, the show wraps too, some of these engagements can break as well and end up not working out or going through. So I think personally, I'm just gonna theorize that he will get engaged. I'm gonna go that route, especially because these promos, they're always, being so dramatic, and it seems like Matt is really falling for these girls. We don't know which one, but it seems like it's a possibility. So I don't think he's gonna walk away from this single. So I'm gonna stick with him walking away with a fiance, hopefully. So we'll see.
Okay, good guessing. We're doing our detective work here, of course. That is very true. Matt has tons of amazing girls to choose from this season, which reminds me also of Tasha's season. She just had so many awesome guys. We were like, who is she
Hmm.
going to pick? She'd probably be happy with
Right.
all of these men. So I think Matt's season is similar in that way. He's really hit it off with multiple girls. So I would be shocked and upset for him if he didn't end up just falling for one and running with it. But of course, we know the Bachelor process isn't all that successful statistically or usually, in terms of lasting long term. But Matt has never been in love before as well. So it seems like the odds are stacked against him, right? It's a tough experience to get through. He hasn't been in love. He's never been on the show before. It's a lot of things weighing on him, a lot of pressure. But Tyler, who knows Matt best, had this to say about the Bachelor process.
I think The Bachelor, pushes yourself more than you normally would push yourself in a relationship. And I think you skip a lot of the BS steps in dating and you kind of get right to it. So I think if as long as you're willing to put yourself out there and be vulnerable and give it a shot, I think that's a possibility for sure.
So these are Tyler's words, and Matt seems to be doing all of these things, putting himself out there, being open, getting vulnerable. So do we think because he's really trying that this process is going to work for Matt?
I definitely think so. I mean, it seems like Matt has a concrete idea of the qualities he's looking for in his wife. I mean, we definitely saw that with the mean girl situation. He addressed it up front and he eliminated those girls right away as soon as he found out and heard, those speculations and those rumors, which ended up becoming true. So it was great that he definitely took that step and eliminated those women. And again, I mean, he just definitely seems like he knows what he wants. And I feel like as the lead, that is so crucial. We definitely saw that in Tasha. And I think we're definitely seeing that more in Matt now. And it seems like he has a good head on his shoulders. He's very self aware of what is okay and what isn't. So I think I'm very confident in him finding the right choice. And again, I'm acting like there is going to be an engagement at the end of this. So I think he will make the right choice in whoever he decides. And again, he has a great variety of women to choose from. So I'm not too worried about him, but I do think that he's going to walk away engaged, and whether that lasts or not, we're just gonna have to wait and see, of course, after the season is over. But I do think that again, Tyler does bring up a good point where he just keeps saying that again, Matt is very happy. So it seems like again, just from Tyler saying that, Matt did this process his way and the right way. So whether or
Mhm.
not we even see an engagement, as long as Matt is happy, then that's of course all that matters because he is the lead and this is about him. So I feel like I have trust in him, and I feel like Matt also trusts the process, whether it works out or it doesn't. Because again, there's no guarantee, statistically, it hasn't been, the most successful. So again, we're just gonna have to wait and see. It's definitely a case by case situation, I think.
Very true. I think something that stands out about Matt, which we caught right from the first episode, was the fact that he realizes that this relationship is going to be a two-way street. He is the bachelor, so it's kind of up to him, and he is, he's making all the moves, I guess. But in so many moments of the show on dates with girls or in one-on-one conversations when they're feeling insecure, he always opens up and says, how can I be a better boyfriend or a better like person that you're dating right now? How can I be more open, or what do you need to hear from me to make you feel more secure? And I don't think we've seen that with many leads in the past, because maybe they just had a different mindset going in, like, it's my show, I get to do what I want. So I think that Matt really stands out in that way, and for that reason he might create, a deeper, more lasting relationship, because there's those two sides to it. But you made a good point. It's like, who knows? We're gonna have to wait and see. I think Matt himself is gonna have to wait and see if this lasts long term, because even if he did get engaged, he probably hasn't talked to her since, the last day of filming. So we're all in the same boat of waiting to see if whatever relationship that he chooses is going to last for the long term. Tyler also gave his top picks for Matt, but they're not who you would expect. He first said Chris Harrison and then himself. Very strange, but he's a goof, as we know. And then he picked Anna, MJ, or Victoria. So all of these girls are already gone, since he did this interview. So either he can't keep the names straight, like sometimes we can't even do, or he was or he was maybe just trying to stay far away from the names of like the top 3 or 4, because maybe he does know it really well and is trying not to give anything away early. These contestants, when they're doing interviews like this with entertainment outlets who really want to pull everything out of them, they're pretty cautious about what they're able to say or not say. So Hibba, what did you think of his picks here? I mean, these were some of the more outlandish girls that he was technically choosing for Matt.
I mean, it's so true. It's so hard to keep these girls' names straight. I mean, I'm still learning. Like, I got like a whole flow chart and I'm still struggling. I'm getting my Serenas confused, everything. So I don't
Mhm.
blame him, but I think it was just a really fun way to just dodge, the question. Of course, he can't, unfortunately, you give a list of his favorites. But again, I thought it was a really funny way that, of course, he chose all the mean girls. So I thought it was a good way that he handled the question. I mean, could you imagine if he was actually being serious? That would be a little concerning as his friend or his roommate of Matt.
Yeah.
But no, I think of course, Tyler in his head has a good idea of who he personally likes. I mean, saw what he thought about Katie, and unfortunately, I know Katie left, but he clearly has thoughts about all these contestants, but can he share them? Unfortunately, not. And again, I'm sure these Bachelor producers are like breathing down, their necks, saying like, you can't say anything, and all the publicists are probably,
Mhm.
coaching them on, how to answer these questions, how to dodge these questions. But again, I just thought it was a really funny, playful way for him to answer the question. Definitely not Victoria. We're done with her.
Very true. Yeah, it was super interesting that maybe Katie was the only girl he met. Like, I'm wondering if he actually met any of the other girls, or if it was just her and now he's saying these girls' names because he's been watching the season back, along with us. So I don't know, very interesting. But he must have known that Katie went home because she was on that date with them. As we mentioned, these two are currently roommates in New York right now, so eventually they're going to have to separate lives if Matt gets engaged, right? So Tyler said,
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it sounds like I'm gonna have a roommate now, and I'm pissed. Like he talked about me possibly moving from the master bedroom to to the guest bedroom. I'm like, yeah, that's fine as long as we switch the rent pay.
so that's sort of, maybe he was just joking, kind of laughing it off. He's obviously referring to a female joining their living situation, but they're already talking about switching up living arrangements. So is this another hint that Matt does get engaged and now things are starting to be shaken up in their lives?
This could be a really good hint that Matt ends up getting engaged. Otherwise, why would Tyler say that comment of, potentially getting a third roommate, potentially, allegedly. Those are our favorite words here. So I think, yes, I feel like Matt and his fiance, I don't know if they're gonna move in together immediately if hypothetically, the show ends and they are still together at that time. Because it seems like I don't know for sure, but I believe Tasha and Zach don't live together right now. But again, they're bi-coastal. So that's a whole maybe different situation. So we're gonna have to see exactly where this new fiance will be as far as what city she currently lives in, and if she's willing to move over to New York, or maybe she's already from New York and is just gonna move in with him. So again, there's a lot of
Mhm.
kind of like politics with this. So it doesn't seem like they're gonna move in, for sure, right when the engagement is announced. So we'll have to see. But I feel like what, Tyler might have to start getting some boxes and like getting the U-Haul booked, because it seems like, what, they might move in together, so we don't know. But again, we're just gonna have to see the pace that they move at, because again, all these couples, they move at such different paces. It's such a case by case scenario. So we're just gonna have to wait and see as always.
Very true. I think it's good to note that if he chooses Kit, he could probably move in with her because, she's a New York
Oh, that's true.
socialite. She's got the scene down. She's probably got a nice big house of her own. So that could work out. I don't know if it's Kit. I don't know how far she gets, but she's still in the running. And that could be a better living situation for the three of them. All right, you guys, that is all we have for your Tyler Cameron update on Matt James this season. But of course, we want to know your thoughts. So let us know down in the comments. What did you think of Tyler's appearance on Matt's show this week? And what do you think of his picks for Matt? Kind of crazy, but let us know. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future updates. I'm Gabby Gonta. I was joined by Hiba Berry today. You can follow us on social at our handles on the screen right now. Come say hi. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.